Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you this afternoon. I'd like to give you a little bit of an overview of some of the challenges that we have faced and some of our solutions that allow us to fulfill our mission statement, which is to bring more therapies to more patients. That's important to us because we're a very patient-centric organization. Our name comes from two key patients in the field of gene therapy, Andrew and Evelyn. And they are really our heroes, and everything that we do is geared towards impacting our patients in as powerful of a way as we can. So where did we come from? We originated in 2006 as an academic GMP facility, part of Nationwide Children's Hospital. We quickly expanded within that organization and started serving both external as well as internal clients for gene therapy production. With our first GMP product in 2011, we had the first clinical productions of what became the Zolgensma product in 2013, and further expansions from there. In 2020, Andelyn spun out as a completely separate entity from Nationwide Children's Hospital. And since then, we've moved forward with a strategic investment from Paul and Cytiva corporations, as well as 2022 bringing on many new facilities and capabilities in our organization. Across the bottom, you can see a selection of different diseases that our products have impacted. So we're really a concept commercialization CDMO, starting with starting materials, being able to supply those, moving into development, both process and analytical development, GMP and R&D manufacturing, followed by fill finish. All of that is wrapped with strong work from analytical development, quality control, quality assurance, and regulatory support. So one of our first challenges has been supply chain. You know, this isn't new to anybody, but COVID threw quite a few curveballs. We experienced, a lot of challenges with supply chain, and a big part of mitigating that was our strategic partnership with Paul and Cytiva in 2021. That made us a top-tier client in their system. That gave us guaranteed minimum quantities of materials, and it gave us a hotline for troubleshooting any supply chain challenges that we faced. We also worked very closely with our other suppliers and helping them with their own supply chain problems, sourcing alternative filters, alternative bags, et cetera, so that we could get sterile buffers, sterile medias, et cetera, in a timely manner. And we also have a robust ERP system from SAP that allows us to be very proactive in our planning and material management. All of this together resulted in 0 production delays over the last few years due to any sort of inventory availability issues. Another important starting material is plasmids. So we recognize that many times people see 6 to 10, sometimes 12-month lead times on getting plasmid raw materials. And so we have recently converted our former AAV production facility into solely plasmid production. That gives us an R&D plasmid capability, 5 GMP production suites. We have 200-liter and 50-liter fermenters that are currently coming online, as well as many off-the-shelf plasmids that are produced, stocked, and ready for use in both AAV helpers and ad helper systems. So moving into vector production, we have a robust process development group with suspension capabilities from the Sartorius Amber 250, shake flasks up through a Paul STR 200 suspension bioreactor. In our GMP side, we have capabilities from 200, 500, into 2,000. So it shows we've got the same systems, the same processes, the same capabilities from early small-scale work in our process development group all the way up through large-scale GMP production. On the graph on the right-hand side, you can see we've had a fairly linear scale from 125 mils all the way up to 2,000-liter bioreactors, and shows a lot of consistency. All of those are within one serotype to show that there isn't any variability serotype or volume to volume. All of that data is also with the PolyPlus Vectavir system. So we've currently evaluated 6 different serotypes for production with Vectavir, and we've seen an average increase in yield of 3.4-fold across those 6 serotypes. Some have been higher, some have been lower, but in general, we're seeing significant improvements in yield which means that we can produce much more vector at these larger scales to create more doses. So additionally supporting that is our suspension cell line development. So we had an adherent HEK cell line that we had used for a number of years in our HYPERStack platform. We suspension adapted and made that serum free, did clonal isolation. That cell line has now been fully banked and tested and is available for GMP use. And we benchmarked it against the XB293F as a commercially available, regularly used cell line. And you can see that we're seeing roughly threefold improvement with our cell line over a commercially available benchmark. And it's one thing to make a lot of virus, but you have to be able to purify it and have a good quality product in the end. So we have developed an all-column purification process that supports all of our suspension work. It is very good at separating empty and full particles, and you can see from all of the blue figures that we are getting very good enrichment, low levels of empty particles in our final products. The two red figures are samples that were collected solely after the capture and had not gone through the empty and full separation, showing much higher percentages of empty as you would expect. So going back to our adherent platform, that's the platform we've had the most experience with. We've been using it for over 11 years now in the HYPERStack vessels. We've used over 7,600 HYPERStacks to date in GMP manufacturing only, with additional HYPERStacks and experience in R&D. The real power of this platform is the ease of entry. It's very agnostic to serotype and transgene. We can come into that with just about any product with limited to no process development work, get into R&D production, tox production, GMP production very quickly and easily. And it really still has a good purpose in those ultra-rare diseases and other diseases where there's a low dose, such as ocular or other locally administered drugs, where the total production yields don't need to scale enormously. We have R&D scale capacity of 5 to 30 HYPERStacks, and our GMP still does 30 and 60 HYPERStack options per sublot. And those are all of our platforms around production and purification, but we're also very open to doing tech transfers of existing processes. We have a robust process in place for bringing manufacturing processes as well as analytical methods into our facility. So if you already have a process that's developed and ready for use, we can bring that in-house, quickly adapt it into our GMP facility, and get started making manufacturing runs for you. And finally, our fill-finish capabilities. So we have an AST Genesis C filler in an isolator-based system. It is currently configured to fill both CZ vials as well as Sarstat screw cap cryotubes. We have change parts for 0.5 ml and 2 ml vials, and it's only a handful of parts that are needed to go up to larger volumes in the CZ or even in glass vials, should that be needed. We really focused on having a very versatile filler because we know that there are some areas where a crimp cap, CZ or glass type vial is essential, and there's other areas where for specific needs, a client may want a screw cap vial to access every last microliter that's in that vial during dosing. And we're currently filling at 900 units, and we'll be scaling up beyond that later this year. So on the back end of the production and purification process and manufacturing is analytical testing. Just like starting materials, we've seen supply chain issues with our analytics. We've seen some tests be as long as 32-week lead times. And so that drove us to really bring a lot of our outsourced analytics in-house. And we have brought, to date, 7 of 11 previously outsourced in our facility, and it's reduced our lead time from 36 weeks down to 12 or less. We also have expanded our contract testing lab capabilities so that when there is an issue with one lab and lead times, we have a versatility and can move between different groups. We've also put a lot of effort into creating platform ways of handling analytics. So platform assays that require very little time to bring a new product in and get it implemented, or platform processes for qualification and validation. So you're not creating a new and novel validation program for each and every product in each and every assay. It's very much a rinse and repeat approach. We're also very proud of being the digital CDMO. We have a lot of digital systems in place to make the client experience smooth and positive. We have, as I mentioned earlier, SAP for our ERP system. We have TrackWise, Blue Mountain, Salesforce. TetraScience is our data cloud. All the data that we generate gets hosted in that cloud for data integrity and to make sure that it's available for use in other systems. We have ComplianceWire and Box and LabVantage currently being implemented as our LIMS system. The last one I'd like to mention briefly is Milestone. So Milestone gives us an alternative option for person and plant. If you're in Europe and you want to do person and plant, you don't have to fly to the United States where we're located. We have 360-degree cameras in the ceiling of all of the manufacturing rooms. During your production campaign, you would get a web link, and at any time of day or night, you can log on and you can see exactly what's happening in your production suite at that moment. The image on your left is what you initially see when you access the specific room that you're looking for. And the image on the right shows the ability to zoom in on a specific piece of equipment or process. Again, you're still welcome to do person and plant, but this gives you the flexibility and the options to do it remotely. So I hope I've illustrated all of these different challenges that can create a very rough and bumpy road through your process, and everything that we have done to smooth all of the bumps out and create a nice, fast-moving highway to really make as much virus to impact as many patients as we can in a short time manner so that you can get into the clinic rapidly. So I'll close with this image showing some of our facts and figures. Feel free to scan the QR code, reach out to us. We'll be happy to share this slide deck. We also have some appendix slides that have some more facts and figures on our specific facilities, square footages or square meters, numbers of production suites, et cetera. And we have a booth here. We're happy to talk with you outside of the room or at our booth the rest of the conference. Thank you.